Thanksgiving was my anchor, the one day I could count on to feel whole. It wasn't just the food, though Mom's turkey, crisp and savory, or her pecan pie, dripping with caramel, were hard to beat. It was the ritual. Every year, our family crammed into her small house, the air thick with the smell of sage and the sound of laughter. My siblings, Jake and Lily, would bicker over mashed potatoes, Dad would retell his old fishing stories, and I'd sit there, the youngest, soaking it in. Those moments wrapped me in warmth, made me feel loved, like nothing could shake us. This year, I needed that more than ever. Work had been a beast, endless reports, late nights, and a boss who thought vacations were a myth. I was burned out, my nerves frayed, and Thanksgiving felt like a lifeline. I imagined us around the table, joking, passing plates, maybe ignoring the small tensions that sometimes crept in. I was the peacemaker, always smoothing over Lily's sharp edges or Mom's stress. It was my role, and I cherished it. But as the day neared, a quiet unease settled in. Mom had been distant on our last call, her voice clipped. Lily hadn't answered my texts in days. I told myself they were busy, Jake with his new job, Lily with grad school, Mom with her projects. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was drifting from them, like a boat unmoored. I pushed it aside, focusing on the holiday. Thanksgiving would fix everything. The morning of, I woke buzzing with hope. I texted Mom, "What time should I be there?" Her reply was quick, "4's great, see you then." I grinned, already planning my day. I'd run errands, grab flowers, and show up ready to dive into the chaos. It was going to be perfect. Or so I thought. Thanksgiving morning was crisp, the kind of cold that nipped at my fingers as I clutched my coffee mug. My apartment was still, save for the soft hum of the heater. I stood by the window, watching the sky shift from gray to pale blue, my mind already at Mom's house. After weeks of work grinding me down, today was my escape. I pictured Mom in her apron, Jake sneaking stuffing, Lily rolling her eyes but smiling. I'd be there, laughing, keeping the peace, maybe stealing a slice of pie before dinner. It was where I belonged. I sipped my coffee, remembering last Thanksgiving. Jake had tried fixing Mom's gravy, turning it into a lumpy disaster. We'd howled with laughter, the table shaking as Lily mocked him. Those moments were my treasure, proof we were a family despite our flaws. I wanted that again, needed it to wash away the stress clinging to me like damp clothes. My phone buzzed. I texted Mom, "What time should I be there?" Her reply, "4's great, see you then." Perfect. I had time to run errands, wine, flowers, maybe those pumpkin rolls Mom loved. I wanted to contribute, to show I was still the kid who showed up, even if I was usually a bit late. They teased me for it, but it was never a big deal. Or so I thought. I showered, pulled on jeans and a sweater, and headed out. The city hummed with holiday chaos, people lugging grocery bags, kids bundled in scarves. At the florist, I picked orange and yellow blooms, imagining them on Mom's table. The bakery was a zoo, but I snagged the last pumpkin rolls, feeling triumphant. Driving back, I let memories flood in. There was the year Lily and I stayed up late, eating pie and dreaming aloud. Or when Dad taught me to carve the turkey, his hand steady over mine. Those times felt like glue, holding us together. But a shadow lingered. Mom's rushed tone on our last call, Lily's unanswered texts, they gnawed at me. Were we drifting? I'd been so buried in work, maybe I'd missed something. Jake was wrapped up in his job, Lily in her studies, Mom in her volunteering. Still, family was family, right? I cranked the radio, drowning the doubt. Today was about us, not worry. Back home, I checked the clock, 2:30 p.m. time to wrap up. I grabbed the wine, flowers, and rolls, my excitement spiking. I locked my door, picturing Mom's hug, the smell of her kitchen, the chatter of everyone talking at once. Whatever that unease was, it couldn't touch today. Thanksgiving was my home, and I was almost there. The drive to Mom's was familiar, every turn a memory. I passed the gas station where Jake once locked his keys in the car, the park where Lily and I raced as kids. The radio played soft holiday tunes, and I hummed along, the flowers and rolls on the passenger seat. It was 3:50 p.m. when I pulled into Mom's Street, my heart light with anticipation. But as I neared the house, something felt wrong. The driveway was empty. No cars, no bustle. Usually, Jake's beat-up sedan or Lily's hatchback would be parked haphazardly, but there was nothing. I frowned, telling myself they were inside, already prepping. I parked and stepped out, the air carrying the warm scent of turkey and herbs. It was like a hug, pulling me toward the house. But the silence was odd, no laughter, no clatter of pans. I shook it off, grabbing my gifts, and walked to the door. I rang the bell. No answer. I knocked, harder this time. Nothing. My stomach twisted, a knot forming. Where was everyone? I pulled out my phone, fingers clumsy, and texted Mom, "I'm here, where are you?" Her reply came seconds later, "We thought you'd be late." I stared at the screen, my mind blank. Late? I was early. Before I could type back, Lily texted, "We couldn't keep waiting." My chest tightened, like someone had squeezed it. Waiting? Thanksgiving was about family, about being together. They wouldn't start without me, would they? I pushed the door open, it was unlocked, creaking softly. Inside, the house was too quiet. The dining room table stopped me cold. A half-eaten turkey sat in the center, surrounded by picked-over dishes, mashed potatoes, green beans, cranberry sauce. Scattered plates held crumbs, used napkins crumpled beside them. They'd eaten. Without me. I stood frozen, the flowers slipping in my grip. This was our day, our tradition, and they'd gone on like I didn't matter. Memories crashed in, times I'd felt sidelined, like when Lily forgot my birthday or Mom dismissed my ideas for family trips. But this was different. This was Thanksgiving, the one day we were supposed to be whole. My phone buzzed again. "Mom, we're sorry, we thought you were busy." Busy? I'd told her I'd be here. Why hadn't they called? My throat burned, anger mixing with hurt. I turned, leaving the flowers and rolls on the counter, and walked out, the door clicking shut behind me. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I got in my car, hands shaking as I gripped the wheel. I didn't know where to go, just that I couldn't stay. The house, once my haven, felt like a betrayal. I drove, the streets blurring past, until I ended up at a park a few miles away. It was quiet, the benches empty under bare trees. I parked and sat, the cold seeping through my jacket. My mind replayed the table, half-empty plates, the turkey carved without me. It wasn't just dinner. It was proof I was invisible. I thought of all the times I'd swallowed my hurt to keep the peace. Like when Jake ignored my calls during his busy phase, or when Lily snapped at me for no reason. I'd always been the one to forgive, to show up, to try. But they hadn't even waited 10 minutes. My phone buzzed, Mom calling. I let it ring, too raw to answer. Then Lily texted, "Mom's upset, please come back." Upset? I was the one left out, the one they'd forgotten. I blocked their numbers, my fingers trembling. It felt like the only way to stop the pain from swallowing me. I sat there, watching the sky darken. A couple walked by, laughing, their voices fading into the dusk. I wanted to scream, to cry, but the anger held it in. Thanksgiving was supposed to be warmth, family, love. Instead, it was a slap, a reminder I didn't matter. I thought of calling a friend, but how could I explain this? It wasn't just a missed meal, it was years of being an afterthought, crystallized in one moment. As the cold deepened, I drove home, the silence in my car heavy. I tossed my keys on the counter and collapsed on the couch. My phone lit up, a voicemail from Mom. Her voice was shaky. "Please, we didn't mean to hurt you. Call me." I didn't. I couldn't trust her words, not yet. I lay there, the hurt wrapping around me like a blanket. I wondered if they'd even notice I was gone, or if they'd just move on, like they always did. The holiday weekend dragged, each day heavier than the last. I went through the motions, work, coffee, sleep, but the sting of Thanksgiving lingered. Friends invited me to post-holiday drinks, and I went, forcing smiles, laughing at their stories. But my mind was elsewhere, stuck on that empty table. I didn't tell them what happened. How could I? It sounded petty, my family ate without me, but it was so much more. It was a crack in the foundation I'd built my life on. I kept expecting Mom or Lily to call, to really apologize, but nothing came. The silence grew louder, a weight I carried everywhere. I replayed my childhood, searching for clues. I was always the youngest, the one who adapted, who didn't make waves. I showed up to every dinner, every birthday, even when they forgot mine. Had I been too easy to overlook? I hated the thought, but it gnawed at me. One night, I found an old photo, us at Thanksgiving years ago, grinning over a massive turkey. I looked happy, but now I wondered, was I always on the edges, even then? My phone stayed quiet, and I started to think they were waiting for me to reach out, to fix this like always. But I couldn't. Not this time. The hurt was too deep, the trust too broken. 3 days after Thanksgiving, Mom texted, "Can we meet? I need to talk." I stared at the message, torn. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to protect myself. But another part needed answers, needed to know why they'd left me out. I agreed, suggesting a cafe downtown. As I drove there, my heart raced. I wanted closure, maybe even hope, but I was scared of more excuses. Mom was already there, sitting by the window, her hands folded tightly. She looked older, nervous, her eyes darting to the door. I sat across from her, the air thick with tension. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice low. "We thought you were busy, that you wouldn't come." The food was getting cold. I stared at her, the words sounding hollow. Busy? I'd confirmed with her. Why hadn't she called? Before I could speak, Lily walked in, her face hard. She sat without a word, and the silence stretched. Finally, she spoke, her tone flat, "It's just dinner. Why are you making this a big deal?" I felt a fire ignite. "It's not just dinner," I said, my voice shaking. "It's about being forgotten, about years of being an afterthought." I poured out the hurt, every ignored call, every dismissed moment. They sat quiet, Lily avoiding my eyes, Mom pale. I stood, my chair scraping. "I'm done being invisible," I said. "You don't get to decide what matters to me." I walked out, the cool air hitting me. I felt free, but empty. They hadn't understood, not really. The next week was quiet, the silence between us deafening. I expected a call, a text, something, but nothing came. Then Lily texted, "You don't understand what you've done." I didn't reply. She was wrong, I understood too well. They'd chosen convenience over me, and I was done chasing their approval. But one day, Mom called. I almost didn't answer, but I did. Her voice was soft. "We messed up. We pushed you away, and I'm sorry. We want to make it right, if you'll let us." It wasn't perfect, but it was real. I hesitated. "Maybe," I said. "One step at a time." It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. I knew healing would take time, and I'd set boundaries. I wasn't their peacemaker anymore, I was me, and I mattered. A year later, Thanksgiving came again. We gathered at Mom's, the table set, everyone waiting. They'd called to confirm I was coming, and when I arrived, Mom hugged me tight. It wasn't perfect, scars don't vanish, but it was progress. I'd learned to demand my place, and they'd learned to listen. Healing was slow, but we were trying, and that was enough for now.